You may know him as a two-time Super Bowl champion, but there's so much more to Torrey Smith than meets the eye. From former NFL player to now father and philanthropist, Torrey is using his platform to give back to his community and speak about social injustice. Torrey, I know so much about your NFL career, but now it's time to dive deep into who you are as a person and the journey to get to where you are today. Thank you for joining me.
I appreciate you having me.
You were the oldest of 7 children. You were raised by a single mother. You moved around in your childhood to escape poverty and a situation of domestic violence. While asked most about their childhood and what it was like, looking back on your situation, did you really have a childhood?
Yeah, for sure. I have plenty of great memories. Whether that's with my mother or my grandmother. You mentioned it a little bit. We experienced, my mother was married to a man who was very abusive. So we moved around a lot. We were kicked out of a lot of places. And, even within that, there were a lot of great memories. Sometimes it's hard to remember those because of the traumatic experiences. But, I've been trying to, as I've been older, try to realize and point out, all the positive things versus all the negatives, which seem to honestly, if you don't change the way you approach trauma, it seems to outweigh the positives that did happen coming up.
And when you look back on that, is there one thing that you can attribute to overcoming those experiences?
I think everything, my character, I know everything there was about being a father, besides actually going out and working. I always had to have a lot more responsibility on my shoulders, being the oldest. Having the responsibility of taking care of them. Also, my mother was an extremely hard worker, and my grandmother as well. So I had the opportunity to watch them two work and how they sacrificed and made things work for us. So for me, as I grew older, I knew that nothing was ever going to be handed to you. You had to work hard for each and everything. And the two women who made me, I was able to see that each and every day in them.
You have said that the NFL was just a stepping stone, not the end zone, to pursuing your true purpose. What is that purpose?
For me, as I've grown older, I realized it's to have an impact on the people that are around me. Not necessarily just the people that, are in tough situations like I was growing up, but really having a positive impact on everyone that's around you to help us all reach our full potential. I'll be the first one to tell you, I am still very much a hot mess. I don't have it all together, but I'm growing and I understand that I have a role to show others that they can make it, that it's not about football. It's about being who you are, the best person that you can be and maximizing your potential. I'm not a person that preaches to everyone like, hey, your way out of poverty or your way out of this situation. It's college, it's this, it's that. I'll tell some people that because that's their truth, but others it's not. And so for me, I know it's important for me being a person who was a guy people watched on Sundays. It's important for them to know that I'm real just like them. I live their experiences, and it'd be selfish of me not to go back and to let people know what I know to help improve the future for, those under me.
When you talk about knowing that there's a purpose outside of football, when did you realize that football was just what you do, but not who you were?
This might sound crazy saying this, but probably when I got in trouble in 10th grade, I was in class and everyone's been in a situation that I'm about to say. You're talking and the teacher points out you, like you're the only person in the entire class that's talking. Well, this happened that day. And I was upset about it. I had a little attitude about it with her. And my mom ended up having to come in for a conference. And it was then she told me, she's like, you don't know the influence that you have. When you go and you make a decision, there are people that are following you. And that really hit home with me when I realized I was kind of able to control the class based on my actions. Or when I stopped or when I spoke up, it kind of meant something. I always thought that was only tied to my family and football. But as I grew older, I realized that it goes beyond that. And, I had the opportunity to influence people, so I might as well use it the right way.
When you talk about your mother's influence on you, how has the way she raised you and the lessons she has taught you influenced the father that you are to your 3 children?
It's been everything. My life experience impacted me, has a major impact in the way I am as a father. My dad wasn't around. My father was in the military. He lived in North Carolina. I lived in Virginia. We just really didn't have that kind of personal relationship. And growing up, I had issues emotionally because I only heard I love you after bad situations. So to me, I was always, and I'm still am a super awkward guy when it comes to receiving emotion, but I make sure that I pour into my kids so they're the opposite of me, like right now. They know I love them. I don't shy away from it. I want them to know that, and I don't want them to be comfortable giving and receiving that. And, just the way I communicate with my wife, I'm just trying to change and really do the opposite of everything that I saw coming up, understanding that, again, none of us are perfect and I'm never going to be perfect, but I just use some of those things that, again, that were stressful that I witnessed growing up and try to fix that, with my wife and my family going forward.
You use your platform a lot to speak up about social injustice and racial injustice. Raising 2 young Black boys in such a pivotal time in history, what are the lessons that you want to teach them?
I want them to just be comfortable with who they are. My boys are, we live in an area that's not very diverse. So I don't want them to shy away from who they are. They're young African American men, and they're always going to be viewed differently. And that should be the case, right? Like everyone has their own culture, they have their own everything. And I want them to understand that. And being viewed differently isn't necessarily a bad thing in some situations. I'm going to teach them that, you're going to be viewed differently by some people who may not like you because of that, because of the color of your skin. And to me, I want them to know that you do have a responsibility to do more. Oftentimes when you see me in the community doing things, my kids are with me. They're growing up in a very privileged environment, and it was the complete opposite of the way I grew up. But that doesn't protect them from racism or being discriminated against or experiencing certain situations. So I want them to, be very humble in knowing who they are, and also be very respectful and treat everyone with love and respect. And hopefully, with the things that we're fighting for, when they're older, we can honestly say there's been a change.
And you talk about that even growing up in a privileged area or you playing in the NFL doesn't exempt you from the things that happen in this country. And while a lot of athletes wait till after their careers to start new paths, you started learning about a new career path during your time in the NFL and interned with Maryland Representative Elijah Cummings. What made you want to get into that, and what did you get out of that experience?
First of all, rest in peace to Congressman Cummings, an amazing man. And I'm for sure was thankful to experience, the internship in his office. We won the Super Bowl in 2013, and I was interning with him, less than a month later in their office. I just wanted to know, like, we come up in school, we're taught, our civic process, your vote matters and all these cliche things, right? But I wanted to know, like, what really goes on? What do they really do? How can your congressman or local legislator, like, how can they impact you directly, or your area or your neighborhood? And so I wanted to go see for myself, and I was able to see that his office isn't the same as everyone else's. They worked extremely hard on issues that other people may turn their backs from. For example, I answered the phone plenty of times or responded to messages from people who were about to be evicted, and the banks wouldn't talk to them, but they would talk to that office, or someone calling from prison because they're being abused and they're being ignored, but they will listen when something comes from Congressman Cummings' office. So I was able to see things were even bigger than, they were feeding people. They had so many different things going on that you don't know unless you're actively involved to see what's going on. And because of that, it really opened my eyes to be able to see what other people are or really aren't doing. And it made me want to challenge the way the system works and really who we're voting for, because too often, we vote for people because of name recognition, but we can't name a single thing that they're actually doing to help the people. So it was a huge educational process for me, and I'm for sure thankful for it. And his team also learned that these politicians that we see, they're only as good as their team. And he was a major example of that. And he was an amazing leader for them as well.
What gives you hope that for the future of your sons, for the future of even myself as a Black woman in journalism, that in the future things are going to be better and there is hope?
Because the generation before us believed that, and things are better. And the generation before them believed that and worked for that, and things are better. So I feel like, there's a problem and you're aware of that problem, whether that's me or you, we recognize that there are problems all over. It's on us to fix it, and we're the right people for the job. So I think we're in an amazing time in our country's history where we have the opportunity to right this ship. And that's on every issue. It's not just about police brutality. It's about our education system. It's about the lack of women in certain positions, about the lack of Black women in certain positions, right? Like, it's now that we're talking about these issues that we have, let's bring them all to light and let's go on from it, and I have to use, my platform and who I am, which my platform is no bigger than the next man around the corner, because I believe that we all have a responsibility to maximize what we can do. And so whenever I have the opportunity to speak up for, again, something that I know is wrong, I will. And that'll be a lifelong fight. It's kind of always been that way, really since I've been a child.
Well, thank you, Torrey, and thank you for using your platform to not only impact your community, but impact the world and audiences all around. I really appreciate sitting down with you.
Man, thank you. Appreciate you having me. Good luck to you.